Today we are going to be reviewing a GOAT format Worlds match played between Dale Bellido and Jase. Welcome to GOAT Duels. I am ACP and I will be your backseat driver for today. Alright, let's get started with game one. Cool sleeves, by the way. So we've got Jase going first. Not too much to really talk about here. We said deco and pass. Here, I mean, this is kind of minor, but I don't really see a reason not to set Book of Moon. Like, I don't see the downside, because if our opponent goes Breaker turn one, we want to book the Breaker, flip the Dekochi, and attack over the set Breaker. Although I guess if our opponent has Breaker, he won't summon it while we have a set Dekochi anyways. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter a whole lot. And, you know, Dale has one of these classic hands where he has a Trinity piece, but not a whole lot else. You know, even here when Tribe attacks, I mean, you could book the Tribe and try to run over the Deco. You probably wouldn't, though, to be honest. And yeah, I like just setting the Jar. Like, there's nothing we're really going to want to Torrential on turn two. And yeah, I like this early Sork too, actually. I know some people used to have the view that you're supposed to save your Chaos monsters, like, oh, wait for your opponent to drop their Sork and then play yours and banish theirs. But the new school line of thought is that you should actually just drop your Chaos monsters as early as possible. You know, maybe Dale runs like a Tech Kaiku in the main. That is a thing that some Chaos decks play, so that's one reason you want to get the Sork out early. Also, just going +1 is nice. You know, just get the Tribe out of there. And yeah, we set another deco. I agree with that. And yeah, now we're setting Book to protect from Snatch. Dale does have a Snatch. And yeah, if you're Dale here, I think the play is obvious. I think you just go, yeah, Breaker Snatch. And yeah, this is actually an interesting decision here for Jase, because you could book the Breaker so that it can't run over the deco, or you could book the Sorcerer just in case your opponent has Snatch. Obviously here, Jase has no reason to believe that his opponent has Snatch, but he decides to take sort of the more low-risk route of just protecting the Sorcerer. You know, there is also the disadvantage of doing this, that your opponent could cross out the Sorcerer, which you wouldn't really be in love with, I think. And even here, Dale could do a play like have Breaker attack the Sorcerer and just Snatch steal it, but that seems like the type of play that's unlikely to pay off. So yeah, I probably, if you're Dale, you're just going to attack the deco and set Torrential Dust Shoot. And yeah, now we get Dust Shooted, although we don't really have a lot. Although Dale gets some valuable information off this Dust Shoot. So Dale now knows that Jase has Crossout, which, you know, can get interesting. It's like, if Dale sets a monster, then Jase has to think, well, he knows I have Crossout, so is this a bait or is this a real card? Yeah, that seems fine to me. I mean, Deco is definitely better than Faith now, but if Jase were to say top deck like a Potigree, then maybe as Dale you would wish, oh, I wish I'd sent back the Faith. It also kind of depends on like what attributes you want to keep out of your opponent's grave. Maybe you don't want to let him set Faith and get a light in there. And yeah, you know, obvious play here from Jase. You know, Dale, I think you reasonably could Torrential here. Just the reason why is you have a light in your grave and you have no dark. And these are both good players. Like, people aren't just going to run into Torrential. So to be honest, if I were Dale, I probably would have just activated the Torrential. But then if you Torrential the Sorcerer, you can't Snatch it. But then maybe you get to save Snatch for later. To me, when I'm playing these Chaos Mirrors, I value my graveyard so much, and I would honestly just rather have the dark in my grave. But it's definitely like a close decision. And then, yeah, now we Dust Shoot. Yeah, pretty obvious what to send back, I think. Serpent is obviously really good. And then, yeah, I think the Snatch is also kind of obvious. Because, I mean, you could also just set the Night Assailant and then just... Well, the problem is if you set Night Assailant, you got to deal with Crossout. So yeah, you kind of have to Snatch. You know, note also, if you're Jase, I probably would have... I mean, you could have set Faith. Now, you didn't know your opponent had Snatch. And I feel like if you know, set Faith and your opponent didn't Snatch that turn, maybe you flip Faith, get Book, and then now it's like you protect from Snatch if they top deck it later. I don't know. Again, it's It's hard to say, but leaving Faith in hand in case you draw like a Trinity piece, that also makes sense. But we're gonna set Faith now, because I guess, hey, we want Snatch just in case our opponent like MSTs our Snatch Steal. Yeah, we want, you know, book from the Faith. And yeah, now this is a really interesting play, because, again, Dale knows his opponent has cross out. He wants to attack the monster. I don't know if this, like, pays off. To be honest, I would even consider just summon Spy, flip Torrential, right? It's effectively a 2-for-2. You put the Dark in your grave, whereas the problem with doing this is the Sorcerer banishes the Spy, and again, now you, like, don't have any Darks in grave. I feel like Dale is just not valuing his graveyard very much, and, you know, I think that can definitely be something that loses you the game. And, I mean, you could book here, get rid of the Snatches, and attack for 23. Which I guess, yeah, he does, and then he gets torrentialed. Yeah, I mean, I get pretty much here, if you're Jase, you have, like, perfect information, so I can see wanting to push for damage. You could also save the book, though. It just, you know, it kind of depends, I guess. I like that we're trying to push for damage as Jase, but at the same time, like, if our opponent just top decks a random monster to kill our tribe, well, I guess there's not much because Breaker's gone and Tribe is gone. So yeah, I guess this Tribe is pretty safe. You know, we don't have to worry about Chaos monsters because, again, no Dark in our opponent's grave. Dale could normal summon Night Assailant, attack the Tribe, and then summon a Sorcerer and banish it. But yeah, if you're Jase, you're probably fine with that. Yeah, and we're still playing around Crossout. At a certain point, I think as Dale, you have to consider, like, okay, maybe I just set the Night Assailant, get it hit by Crossout, and then once I top deck another monster, my opponent won't have Crossout anymore. But, again, the problem is, if you set your Night Assailant and your opponent Crossouts, now it's like, look how many Darks you have banished. So, again, I feel like Dale's, like, kind of trapped himself a little by just letting both of these Dark monsters get banished from Sorcerer. And yeah, Dale just took the Tribe hit, which, you know, I guess you just kind of have to. And yeah, Dale's just passing again. You know, you could Raigeki Break, discard Night Assailant, kill Tribe, summon Sorcerer, and attack directly. But then your Sorcerer doesn't go +1. You know, Jace's play is pretty obvious here. I would probably just set the Mirror Force. Okay, or we can set Night Assailant. And yeah, the problem here is once you commit the other card, then, you know, Dale gets to do that play where you go Raigeki Break, Chaos Sorcerer. And still playing around the Crossout by normal summoning Dekochi. So now the game is, like, a little more even because we let the Tribe die. I feel like if we just played the Night Assailant and the Mirror Force, then, like, our opponent can only Raigeki Break one or the other. And then we get to use the other one to kill the Sorcerer, which, you know, could be desirable. And yeah, Dale's setting the heavy too. No reason not to. You play around Dust Shoot by doing this, so yeah, I'm a fan. So Jase Heavy Storm's the Heavy Storm. He knows his opponent has Heavy Storm, so what he's trying to do here is, you know, he doesn't want to get stormed here. But now the interesting thing is, so think about what this tells Dale. What this tells Dale is, keep in mind, we know that Dale has Heavy Storm set if we're Jase, because we know the other two cards are Thunder Dragons, and then you eliminate possibilities. Okay, the set card has to be Heavy Storm. So Dale knows that Jase is Heavy Storming his Heavy Storm so that he can protect his back rows from Heavy Storm, which means that at least one of Jace's back rows is not chainable, right? Because if this was, say, for example, it was Raigeki Break and Jar of Greed, you would just let Dale flip the Heavy Storm and then chain both your Raigeki Break and Jar of Greed. So Dale knows now that one of Jace's set back rows is not chainable. Okay, well, what is that? Well, that could be Solemn Judgment, I suppose, but Mirror Force, Torrential are very likely. So if you're Dale, you know, you probably want to play around Mirror Torrential here. Yeah, I guess this is fine. Keep in mind, not all Chaos decks even run Torrential. So I'd say that, playing around Mirror is going to be more important than playing around Torrential, because your opponent runs Mirror Force, and you think maybe there's some chance they don't run Torrential. And we turn the Deco to defense. I actually wouldn't mind turning the Sorcerer to defense and attacking with Deco Sanguine. I actually hate this play. I think if you're Jase, you have to Mirror Force here, because you've made it so obvious that this card is Mirror Force that your opponent's just going to play around it the whole game. So now if you Raigeki break the Sorcerer, they've got like 2 floaters in play. What are you ever going to Mirror Force, right? Whereas if you Mirror Force now, there's plenty of stuff you can save the Raigeki break for. Whereas I feel like this Mirror Force is just never going to get value now, because you've made it so blatantly obvious you have Mirror Force set because of, again, the Heavy Storm play. The Heavy Storm play is what gives it away. Also interesting that Jase runs both Wing Blast and Raigeki break. Usually people just play one or the other. And yeah, now we're attacking for 24. Dale was in a rough spot earlier, but if I were him, I'd be thrilled with how this game is going now. So yeah, main phase 2. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. We don't really need to search Sinister because we have the Thunder Dragon as discard fodder for the Raigeki break. So yeah, I guess Tsukiyomi is fine. But then there's the question of, what attacks are you going to do next turn? Probably use Tsukiyomi the Dakochi, turn Thunder Dragon to defense, and attack directly with Tsukiyomi, then flip Dakochi main phase 2. That's what you should probably be doing. And yeah, I think this Raigeki break is fine. You want to put pressure. Yeah, that card's Dust Shoot here, but obviously Dale doesn't know it's Dust Shoot. This is an interesting play from Dale. I agree with this Wing Blast play from Jase, where you just put Thunder Dragon on top and basically stop your opponent from drawing the card. But yeah, now the problem is, again, if you're Dale, you can't really play around Mirror Force. I would have just done the play that I said before. Yeah, I don't know why Dale just decided to stop playing around Mirror Force. Yeah, this... don't get me wrong, I think, Dale is... I don't know, it's about an even game, but I feel like if Dale just continued playing around Mirror Force for, like, the 3rd turn in a row, he probably just easily wins. Because it kind of has to be Mirror Force. It can't be much else. It's either a Mirror Force or, like, a random bluff, but the random bluff would be really wacky. This is a huge mistake from Jase, and I'll explain why. It's simple math. Now, if you attack with Spy for 12... yes, your opponent goes to 700, and then you can attack with Spy for game if they don't have some sort of way to stop you. But we still have Spy, 2 Spies in our deck. So yes, we attack for 12 this turn and attack for 12 next turn, or we can flip Spy and attack for 24, which is the same amount of damage, right? Except we have an extra Spy in play. The only reason to put this Spy in attack is if you're playing around the possibility of crossout. Now, there's 20 cards that we don't know about as Jase. There's, the 1 Sinister in hand, plus the 19 in deck. So there's going to be, on Dale's next turn, there's going to be 2 cards that could be crossout, right? That's 2 out of 20. So if you set Spy, there's a 10% chance you're going to get hit by crossout. But there's, of course, the chance that your opponent top decks Chaos Sorcerer and banishes your Spy, which is bad. There's the chance that your opponent top decks BLS and just attacks you for game, because again, your opponent knows you have crossout, so you can't set the crossout to bluff. Yes, putting Spy in attack plays around 2 crossouts, but doesn't play around the second Sorcerer and the BLS. It also doesn't play around top decked Dakochi. There's at least 3 cards where setting Spy is better, whereas there's only 2 cards where summoning it is better. So this is just a blatant mistake. And yes, like, our opponent top decked the Sorcerer, but that wasn't the only card that would have made this, not a very good play. Keep in mind also the disadvantage to doing this, our opponent's going to attack, obviously, is now that we are at 21, top-decked Ring doesn't win the game, it would just tie the game. Because if our opponent was at 19 and we're at 33, we can top-deck Ring and win, now we can't. And it's like, yeah, if we just set the Spy, Dale probably goes Summon Sorcerer, attack the set Spy, we get another Spy. But then, the life points are better for us, we have the Spy in defense. maybe I don't know, we top deck something, right? We top deck, say, our own sorcerer, and then we still have the spy there. So, I mean, top deck Sinister's pretty good, though. I mean, it's alright. It's not the best draw, but it's certainly not the worst. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. And yeah, I guess Dale... Yeah, BLS is live if we discard Thunder Dragon. And Mirror Force is gone. Torrential's not gone. Dale pretty much knows this monster's set Sinister. I mean, it could be a top deck monster, I suppose. Like, this set could be cross out, and then this monster could be something that's not Sinister. But it's probably Sinister. And you know that if Jase has Torrential here, he has to use it. So now you're free to summon BLS, knowing that if your opponent had Torrential, he would have been forced to use Torrential on the Sinister. And then, yeah, and then now you just attack for game. And as Jase, there's no reason to Wing Blast here. Only because now you've shown your opponent that you run the second Wing Blast, right? Because it's just game. Yeah, it was a close game. Like I said, Dale made some interesting plays in letting 2 Darks get banished. I think that could have gone very poorly for him. I think Jase made some tactical mistakes for sure. But overall, I mean, it was pretty well played. And yeah, this is a great opening here. We've got monsters to set. And the reasoning why these kinds of openings are so powerful, it's not really because we went +1. Like, yes, of course, that's good. But the problem now is, like, if you're Dale, any set monster, you have to worry that it could be a Magician of Faith. And then the whole situation spirals out of control. And here it's like you could set Spy or set Dekochi. For me, I would sort of take, I think, the more aggressive line and set Dekochi with Ring to protect it, and then try to just start drawing extra cards with Dekochi plus Tsukiyomi. But, maybe you set the Spy first to bait Crossout. That's an option too, I don't think, like, one of these plays is significantly better than the other. It's just kind of their pros and cons to both. So this is actually a really interesting mind game, and I'll explain why. Just like last game, when you're using spell or trap removal, it tells your opponent, like, what you're scared of. Now, why would you want to MST this back row and follow up with the T set? Well, the reason why is because you're saying that your set monster is valuable, and you don't want it to get hit by, say, a Raigeki break, for example. So now, if Jase has mind control, which he does, he is very likely to mind control this set monster, which will go -1. And the reason why is because Dale has signaled to Jase that, hey, my set monster is really important, so I want to MST your set that's potentially a Raigeki break or a Wing Blast. Okay, that's what he's doing. And yeah, setting the Night Assailant seems fine too. We can Tsukiyomi that. And yeah, if you're Dale, you don't really have a lot of options. I would just set Spy and try to wall, yeah. Drawing that third Spy, you really hate that if you're Jase. I don't know why we're doing this. Yeah. Yeah, this play honestly baffles me. This leaves us open to so much. Like, our Night Assailant could get run over by something. Realize Dale could even just go, like, summon Tsukiyomi, flip down the Spy, attack the Night Assailant. This also, by, leaving the 2 Spies in attack... Realize this Spy was set, but by leaving them just both face up, they can now get killed by Tribe. Really, your Tribe would be brutal, because Tribe would just go attack over the Night Assailant, kill both the Spies, which is pretty awful. 1, I have no idea why we're setting this third Spy. What does that accomplish? 2, why are we not summoning Tsukiyomi? Like, we should definitely just Tsukiyomi the Night Assailant. Like, what I would have done is I would have flipped up the Night Assailant, attacked directly for 200, not 14. Dale has a little more life, but that's fine, and then just Tsukiyomi the Night Assailant. I mean, yeah, it doesn't play around Torrential, I guess. Maybe that's what you're worried about. But, like, to be honest, I feel like if Dale had Torrential, he might have just Torrentialed the Night Assailant. right? Just kill the 2 spies and the Knight Assailant. So yeah, I think you shouldn't be too worried about Torrential if you're Jase. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, Dale feels safe setting the Tsukiyomi because he figures that Jase doesn't have a Tsukiyomi, because if Jase had a Tsukiyomi, he would have played it last turn, but he didn't play it last turn. So, yeah, this play is, like, a little weird. And now I have no idea why Jase is using this crossout. Again, the only explanation I could come up with is that he's playing around Torrential. But I think that makes absolutely no sense. Playing around Torrential doesn't really make a lot of sense here. I mean, yeah, we attack for 24, that's good, but we could have just... You know, we could have Tsukiyomi'd the Knight Assailant, killed the monster for free, had Crossout in hand, and then, regardless of what threat our opponent plays, we can just get rid of it with Tsukiyomi plus Crossout. I feel like we're getting a little too tricky and basically wasting cards because we have this hard read on our opponent having Torrential set, even though odds are he doesn't have Torrential set. Like, yes, there is some chance Dale could have Torrential set, but it's a very small chance, and you have to always, like, play around what your opponent has most likely, not the thing that you're most scared of. I mean, it's working out fine because... Yeah, I mean, it worked out fine for Jase because Dale just drew absolute garbage, but I feel like if Dale just had any sort of real thing to play, Jase, you know, wasting those cards to play around Torrential could have worked out pretty bad. And then he ended up having to Tsukiyomi the Knight Assailant, which would have played into the Torrential anyway. So it's like, again, if you're going to, like, play around the Torrential, at least commit to it. Don't throw away cards to play around Torrential for 2 turns and then just not play around it on the 3rd turn. It really doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I actually feel like Jase's plays, they weren't logically consistent, is probably the best way to put it. If you're Jase here, you're probably hoping your opponent has Dust Shoot. I also like that we're setting Tribe here. And the reason I like setting Tribe is, well, for one, we have Raigeki Break to protect it in case our opponent maybe tries to Breaker and, you know, attack this Tribe or something. And if our opponent crossouts the Tribe, you know, I think we're fine with that. If they mind control the Tribe, that's, you know, great for us. Dale did see mind control last game. You know, yes, if you mind control the Tribe, you can discard a card and have it kill itself, but that's still a -1. So they're going to go -1 by mind controlling the Tribe either way. So yeah, you know, I like that Dale is getting creative here. Yeah, I have no idea what Jase is doing here. You know, there's no reason not to upstart first. In case, say, for example, you draw Dekochi and you'd rather set Dekochi instead of Sengen, which you probably would. I mean, yeah, Jase, I think, is being a little sloppy here, to say the least. Dust Tornado is interesting. This must be a sided-in card. Now, this match did go to time, so this might be a case where Dale, like, sided out his upstarts for Dust Tornadoes because they're going into time. To me, that would make sense, and, you know, Jase having upstart, again, that can obviously matter if you end up going into time. And, yeah, it's pretty bad Dust Shoot. I mean, not that, like, Jase made a mistake by flipping the Dust Shoot, just that, you know, it's not good for him. Obviously, you're gonna flip Dust Shoot here, but it's just unfortunate that, you know, that happens. Note that we set the first crossout off Dust Tornado, and then we're using the other crossout from our hand, which doesn't play around Heavy Storm. I don't know. Well, I guess by using the crossout in your hand and leaving this one set, your opponent doesn't know that you have crossout because they Dust Shooted you and saw the first one. So actually, no, I like that. At first I was like, wait, what? But then I see, you know, Dale is sort of making sure his opponent has the minimum amount of information, which is actually quite good. Yeah, we can Snatch. And if you're Dale, yeah, I think you Raigeki Break here. And yeah, you probably want to get back the Snatch with Faith, so sure, why not? Yeah, this all seems standard. And then, yeah, there's that second crossout that Jase didn't know about. Yeah, that actually, using the Dust Tornado to set the crossout was actually low-key like a really good play. Yeah, at first, you don't see why it's a good play, and then you're like, oh. So yeah, I don't know how much time is left in the round at this point in time, But, you know, if, say, there's 5 minutes left, you're feeling pretty good if you're Dale. Yeah, you probably just try to run over the tribe with Tsukiyomi, I think. And, yeah, here you're going to duo because of the fact that if, say, Dale has Raigeki Break set, which he does, then he can't use it to kill Tsukiyomi. I mean, I will say Dale's already used one Raigeki Break, and most people who play Raigeki Break only play 2. So you're basically playing around a 1-of here. I mean, but it happens to work out. You know, Jase does seem to play around 1-ofs a lot. You know, sometimes it works out for him, sometimes it doesn't. And yeah, I don't know if I like this. You know, for the same reason that I didn't like it when Jase did it, I don't think I like it when Dale does it. And remember, you know, last game I was like, oh, you know, you could top deck Dakochi and run over the attack position spot. Well, Jase has the Dakochi. So I don't know. I would have set the spy. There's, yeah, still 2 more spies in the deck. Yeah, I don't know. Again, you know, my reasoning is the same as what it was last game. I would have just put the spy in defense like normal people do. Then again, you know, I'm not the one at Worlds, so maybe these 2 guys, you know, are the spy masters, not me. And yeah, you're gonna book here. That makes sense. And yeah, I mean, if you're Jase, you know, you're certainly very ahead on cards, that's for sure. You could use Wing Blast this turn, or you could save it. Obviously, you're gonna do that. If you want to play around Torrential, you could Wing Blast the back row. You know, I will say, like, if you Wing Blast the back row here, your opponent doesn't redraw it. Like, you could Wing Blast the back row of Tsukiyomi, the Dakochi, attack the Sengen, and now your opponent draws a different card. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's not a good thing. But when you're so ahead here as Jase, I feel like you want to Wing Blast something, just as a tempo play. Yeah, I don't like this at all. Like, we could Wing Blast a Sengen, attack for 25, make our opponent redraw the Sengen. And yeah, and then we don't have our opponent top deck Chaos Sorcerer. Like, part of the reason that Wing Blast is so good in Chaos Mirrors is the fact that you know they're not going to top deck something broken. You know, Dale could have top decked a Potagreed here, right? You know, he could have, there's a lot of things, not just Sorcerer. So for me, it's like when you're Jase and you're kind of low on life but have a huge card advantage, I would try to convert that advantage into tempo and damage by Wing Blasting something. Probably just the Sengen. And yeah, now we like take 1,000 more damage, which, you know, again, with time isn't great. And do we have light and dark for BLS? I don't think we do. Yeah, we don't have a light or a dark. So yeah, this is kind of rough. Dale only has 2 lights, so, you know, a possibility is that, you know, here we can Wing Blast the Sorcerer, Sengen will attack into our Dakochi, and then, you know, we can draw more cards. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Makes sense to me. Again, I feel like our position ends up being stronger if we, you know, just Wing Blasted the Sengen and kind of set our opponent back a turn. You know, our opponent would be at less life, we'd be at more life. I'm also not sure why Dale is attacking this Dakochi. Because now you can Tsukiyomi the Dakochi and draw another card. Jase decides not to. And here, you know, we can Raigeki Break, discard Sorcerer, play the other Sorcerer. He decides not to. You know, again, I don't know how close we are to time, so maybe Dale's thinking like, oh, I want to save the Raigeki Break to protect my life points as we go into time. You know, it would be nice if somehow we could see the clock in real time. And yeah, having this upstart going into time is not where you want to be. I would guess that Dale sided out his upstarts. Yeah, Dale says, I believe it's time. So now they have 2 battle phases each from this point on. Also note that, you know, we drew Spy Heavy Storm off Dakochi plus upstart. If we had flipped the Spy before flipping Dakochi, then it's less likely that we draw the Spy. Like, we should have just flipped the Spy first, right? Because we're gonna flip the Spy anyway. It's obviously a very sort of minor missed optimization, but, you know, you still should have flipped the Spy first. You always want to thin your deck before drawing cards. That's just kind of, you know, fundamental stuff. You know, we do attack for some damage. Dale can Raigeki Break here to take less damage, but there's not really a reason to. And here I imagine he's just searching a random dark to discard Raigeki Break so he can drop double Sorcerer. That's why he got Tsukiyomi with Sangan, and not something like Sinister. I think using Raigeki Break in the end phase here is a big mistake. And the reason why is because you might draw a card, say another dark monster, that you would rather discard to Raigeki Break than Tsukiyomi. Yeah, and see, because what you would do here if you'd save the Raigeki Break is you just Raigeki Break like a random monster. Like you just Raigeki Break, discard Dekochi, kill Spy, and then drop double Sorcerer, clear the other two monsters, set Tsukiyomi, and now you have 2 defense position Sorcerers and a set Tsukiyomi. There's basically no way that your opponent can kill you on the last turn of the game. Unless they have like something super insane like Pot of Greed into discard Thunder Dragon into Snatch plus BLS. Like they'd need some ridiculous combination of cards to have any chance of killing here. And yeah, you know, Dale's going to try to just attack for game, but, yeah, and if we're doing this, I'd probably just summon Dekochi to just make sure we kill at least 2 monsters. This is really strange because, yeah, this play just doesn't work. Like, yes, Dale doesn't know that his opponent has Raigeki Break set, but keep in mind, we saw multiple Wing Blasts and Raigeki Break in the previous game, so it's not exactly out of the question. Mirror Force still hasn't been used yet. Torrential hasn't been used, although maybe it seems like Jase isn't playing Torrential. I don't know. To me, it seems like Dale just decided to take a really risky play and just kind of play around nothing. And now the only thing he has is a set Dekochi and a Sorcerer. If he'd put the Dekochi in the attack, we could have killed the Spy, and Jase would have 200 less life points and 1 less monster to attack with. And yeah, now the only way that Jase can win is to Tsukiyomi the Dekochi, flip the Dekochi, hope it's a top-decked Thunder Dragon, and attack for game. It is a top-decked Thunder Dragon. And, yeah, now he just summoned BLS and attack for game. And like I said, if Dale had just done the play where you Raigeki Break a monster, Sork, banish 2 other monsters, set Tsukiyomi, this would just not be game. Dale would just win. So, ironically enough, I feel like Jase kind of deserved to win this game because Dale made a massive mistake. Like, obviously, Dale doesn't have perfect information. He can't know that his opponent has BLS. But you gave your opponent 2 chances to draw the Thunder Dragon, right? There's 1 Thunder Dragon draw for turn, and then 1 draw off the Dekochi. So it's not super, unlikely that your opponent just has a Thunder Dragon and is able to summon BLS here. And when you're Dale and you're just up so many life points, you don't need to close it out. This is the last turn of the game. Not even. Dale would even get an extra turn after this. So yeah, this is exactly game here. And even if we'd put the Dekochi in attack, yeah, if you put the Dekochi in attack, it's still game because I think it's still game. Well, the Spy would be gone. You'd go attack. That would be 16. 16 plus 7, 23 plus 25. No, that would only be 48. Oh yeah, even if you put the Dekochi in attack, this just wouldn't be game. So yeah, like Dale basically had like 3 different options on the last turn, and he just picked the worst one. He picked like the only one that loses to BLS, and they were definitely some interesting games. Time definitely kind of made this a weird dynamic. So yeah, fun match. I know there's some plays that were maybe debatable, and I have a feeling some people will disagree with my opinions, but let me know in the comments, guys. Thanks for watching.